Yes. This is November the 13th, so it is always good to see the light of a new day. I have a 90-year-old friend that I asked him how he was doing, and he said, I opened my eyes this morning, so I'm doing okay. I hope that you're even doing better than that, remembering that every day is a gift from God's gracious hand. So we respond to life as we walk through the day with the realization that God has presented us again with 24 hours of life and living. November 11, that's 2 days ago here. November 11 is a significant day for many of us, especially in this part of the world. And on November 11th, we watched a program from our capital city of Ottawa as we remembered the people who have given their lives for the freedom that we enjoy today. It always stirs my emotions as I think of the price that has been paid for the freedom that we have in our world today. I think back in history, even though I wasn't there, the year that my father was born, 1914, the First World War, they call it the Great War, began. And it lasted for more than 4 years. It was a war that was supposed to end all wars. It cost 9.7 million military personnel, soldiers, and about 10 million civilians. That's equal to 40 million casualties. That's war. That's the human race. We thought that should be the end. 1939, it begins again. And we go for 5 long years in the Second World War with an estimated total of 70 to 85 million people who perished. That amounted to about 3% of all the people that were on the earth. What a horrible catastrophe, but what a commentary on human beings. That war, not like the First World War, which was mostly in Europe, that war spread throughout the whole world. And it affected our family because my mother's brother, Sergeant F.A. Tromberg, died at Dieppe. A couple years ago, my daughters visited the cemetery where the soldiers are recognized. Of course, their graves are not in this graveyard because they landed on the borders, on the shores of Dieppe, and were slaughtered and buried in huge numbers in the ground. But this is something to remember. My uncle, who gave his life at Dieppe in the Second World War. Dieppe, the Dieppe disaster, August 19, 1942. Well, you'd think we human beings would learn something, wouldn't you? Part of that war spread over into your part of the world. This, I have visited this several times, just north of Yangon, Rangoon, the cemetery where $27,000. Now, you look on the walls, there's a list of 27,000 thousand unknown soldiers. We don't know where they died, but they died somewhere in Burma. And in this cemetery, there are 6,374 marked graves. Very sobering to walk through this. The same thing I feel when I walk through the cemetery there in Imphal. All those people, that terrible part of the war, they say they estimate 65,000 Japanese lost their lives coming up through Burma into Northeast India, and 18,000 Commonwealth soldiers, many of them Indians, many of them British, some of them Canadians. It is sobering to walk through this cemetery, at least for me. And you're very close to it. I suggest you stroll through it and think. You think about life and the cost of war, the tragedy of war. I hope that many of you have traveled down the road from Imphal to Cherchanpur, and you come across this peace memorial that the Japanese came back 50 years after the Second World War, and this was erected, a way to say, hey, we're sorry we came up here in the first place. And now you would think, I would hope, but I know differently. You would think that we would have learned something, but now it's Ukraine. The realities of history and current events indicate to us that power tends to corrupt. We human beings don't handle power very well. And as one person has said, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is the wars of the world have been brought about by the dictators that are in our world. It's hard to believe that they would be so eager to waste lives and resources. But it seems to me that whenever one has an advantage, that advantage might be because we're stronger, might be because we have more money, might be because we have more education, might simply because we can run faster, or we can talk more influentially. Whenever one has an advantage, abuse is not far away. But the Christian perspective is so different, so different. Matthew 5, Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, you've heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder. And that's what war does. It takes the lives of people. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. That's God's statement, God's assessment of what is happening when war takes place. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. There is another way to kill people, to belittle people, to mock people, to bring people down. Again, anyone who says to brother or sister, Raka, which means you are a nobody, you're worth nothing, he will be answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. In other words, Jesus is saying life is very special. Not just the blood that flows through our veins, but the respect, the character, the reputation of people is also important. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. Go first and be reconciled, then come and offer your gift. What a difference it is. What a difference. Operating with the example and the teachings of Jesus each day. Settle matters quickly. Settle matters quickly. Don't go to war. Do it while you're still on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge will hand you over to the officer, and you'll be thrown into the jail. I like what Paul says to the young man Timothy. He says, flee evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. Aren't those two wonderful words? Pursue them. Don't just let them happen, but you make every effort to make them part of your life, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Or Peter, finally, all of you, be Christ-like minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to do this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers. Isn't that word peace a wonderful word? And it's not that we just stay at peace, but we try to make peace. Where there is quarreling, where there is war, where there is fighting, where there is anger, we should feel uncomfortable. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Now, what does that say about the people who don't pursue peace? Because only peacemakers are to be called children of God. So I started out with that first slide, lest we forget. That's what all the poppies here are about on Remembrance Day, on November 11. Let us not forget the price that was paid with thousands, yes, millions of people to make our world today. If those people in Burma and Manipur had not given their lives way back there in 1945, I wonder what India would be like today. Let us also not forget our many privileges. Today is a gift from God. Let us treat it like a gift. We are privileged to see the light of a new day. We are privileged to have friends. We are privileged to sit here in this Zoom this morning. privileges are so many, and so many provisions that come our way. So many things that we did not arrange or work for ourselves. We live in houses likely that someone else built. We drive cars that someone else manufactured. We turn on lights that somebody somewhere is generating electricity so that we can have lights. We are not self-made people. Let us not forget our possibilities to live different than the warlike factions in our world. We represent the King of Kings, the kingdom of peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. Our children, or even we, have likely sung this little song. It comes from the fruits of the Spirit. Sometimes we sing, love is the castle of my heart. Love, peace, and joy. Peace is the flag that flies from the castle of my heart, from the castle of my heart, from the castle of my heart. Peace is the flag that flies from the castle of my heart, where the King is in residence there. Our great example this week. Let us fly the flag of peace. Let us not forget the price that has been paid for that peace. Peace with God, and peace with one another, and peace with our future. Peace is the flag that flies from the castle of our hearts. Those soldiers paid a great price. Our Savior paid the ultimate price. And just a few minutes ago, you remembered that sacrifice, because Jesus says, when you take this bread and drink this cup, remember me. Okay, thank you very much.